It looks like it's a compromise. It's a step forward, but of course, the war will not be ended by an economic deal, and it's time to
Yes.
pressure Putin and ramp up American support for Ukraine now as well.
Meanwhile, we had the news yesterday that a deal had been struck after an awful lot of coming and going, a lot of hot words and then cool words. It's been done, and there is to be a deal between the United States and Ukraine on the extraction of minerals from Ukraine, said to contain an enormous wealth of mineral deposits, vital to so many vital interests. What, though, does it mean? What does it mean for the security of Ukraine? What does it mean for the future development of Ukraine when and if this war ever ends? I'm joined now by someone who knows a good deal about certainly Ukraine. Ostap Yarysh is a Ukrainian journalist. He's based now here in the United States. He's on the line from New York City and has been a Pentagon correspondent for the Voice of America. Ostap, welcome to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And you're very welcome. Ostap, let me just ask you now for your own assessment of the deal that was struck last night between the Trump administration and Kyiv on these mineral deposits. What did you make of it?
Absolutely. It was a long road to signing this deal. We obviously remember the explosive Oval Office meeting between Volodymyr Zelensky and Donald Trump. The deal was not signed back then. Now the parties came to an agreement, and yesterday we saw Scott Bessent, Secretary of Finance of Treasury here in the United States, and Ukraine's Minister of Economy. They signed this deal, and seems that it's a compromise for the United States and for Ukraine. Of course, the U.S. Gets access to Ukraine's critical minerals. And it's not just, a minerals deal as it being referred to in the media. It's a broader economic partnership deal. It's a joint investment fund between the United States and Ukraine. So yeah, the United States will get access to Ukrainians, to Ukraine's minerals and other also resources. Ukraine, on the other hand, although it doesn't get any security guarantees from the United States or any other things, it gets this commitment or at least willingness to support Ukraine militarily in the future. It will not be, just like we saw before, just grants or whatever military support. It would be some conditions. We will see some conditions for that. Ukraine will have to match the amount of military support provided with resources from what we see from the text. But it looks like it's a compromise. It's a step forward. But of course, the war will not be ended by an economic deal, and it's time to pressure Putin and ramp up American support for Ukraine now as well.
So tell me then, Ostap, in your view, knowing as you do a great deal about Kyiv and what people close to the president are thinking at any given time, what will they be making in Kyiv of the deal that has been struck? How far will there be relief? Will there be pleasure? How far will there be disappointment? And maybe just hope for the future that they'll be getting more by way of those vital security guarantees. It is a difficult pitch to read.
Absolutely. So far, from what we are seeing, Kyiv and Ukrainian officials, they are satisfied with the deal. It was absolutely critical for them to underscore that Ukraine is not in debt to the United States. We know that such provisions existed in the previous iterations of the deal. The Trump administration wanted to secure some sort of, payback or payment for the support it had provided to Ukraine before. Well, the Ukrainian officials underscore that this deal, this agreement does not provision or does not envision any, debt from Ukraine to the United States. And this is absolutely critical to the Ukrainians. I know that it was not easy on the Ukrainian side to strike this agreement, but they were pretty successful in that part. It was critical to underscore that Ukraine Ukraine's resources remain Ukrainian, and Ukrainian government will be having the final word when it comes to the resources, although the United States will get gain some access. So seems from what we're hearing from the wording, from the reactions from Kyiv, they seem to be satisfied. Of course, it's not everything they wanted to achieve, and they want to see more robust security guarantees and promises from the United States and military support coming forward. But I think those will be steps that we'll see in the coming weeks or months.
Okay. So then, a vastly better deal than it might have been, and there will be some satisfaction for that. As for what it will mean in the future, I guess we will have to watch and wait. Let's just have a quick listen back to the president's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, who was speaking about the deal. Let's just have a listen to that.
Last night, we saw yet again why President Trump is our deal maker in chief. We secured a historic agreement to establish the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This is a first of its kind economic partnership for the reconstruction and long-term economic success of Ukraine that the United States will greatly benefit from. This partnership represents the United States taking an economic stake in securing a free, peaceful, and sovereign future for Ukraine. This partnership establishes a fund that will receive 50% of royalties, license fees, and other similar payments from natural resource projects in Ukraine. President Trump has been clear from the beginning. He wants the killing in this brutal war to end. This agreement shows how invested the president is in securing a truly lasting peace.
So the president's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, speaking there. Now, Ostap, I wonder, will in Kyiv they be hoping and believing that now having struck this deal, the one thing they can count on is not seeing President Trump once again cutting intelligence, once again cutting off the supply of arms. It seems they've moved at least beyond that, and there will be, I guess, a lot of relief about excluding at least that possibility.
Well, absolutely. Of course, Kyiv hopes that there will be no such instances or examples in the future, and the United States will not cut any sort of aid, whether it's intelligence sharing or any shipments that are currently ongoing to Ukraine. Well, not only that, Ukraine hopes that there will be more pressure. Putin, Ukraine showed that it's willing to negotiate. Ukraine is willing to come to the table, while Putin is still in continuing bombing Ukrainian cities, right? And he's not showing any signs of peace or willingness to peace. So, of course, on the Ukraine's part, there will be more desire to see some pressure and some actions from the administration now towards Russia. Ukraine has shown that it has come to the table in a good faith. Now it's time to force Putin, So absolutely, they also hope for some military support, maybe military sales. And I've seen some reports coming from Kyiv. Ukrainian media has reported that there might be some future agreements or future military sales, not large or not like broad military scales. Not broad military sales to Ukraine, but some sort of military support will be coming in the coming weeks. So we will definitely look forward to that and see what comes from the Washington, D.C. as well. We know that President Trump now has approximately $4 billion in his disposal, to $4 billion in military support that he can provide to Ukraine from the United States stocks. He hasn't exhausted this opportunity and possibility yet. Looks like the administration is willing more to look into sales parts and not to just provide weapons to Ukraine.
Yes.
So we will be seeing what happens next.
All right, Ostap Yarysh, thank you so very much, a Ukrainian journalist, for that perspective, reflecting the thinking in Kyiv on what is another very important day.